G'day guys, welcome back to the Devon Too Good investing channel. Today in this video we're going to be looking into the moat of Micron Technologies. So you might be asking yourself, what the hell is a moat? Well, a moat pretty much is a competitive advantage that a business has that protects it from its competition. It allows it to remain sustainable and stay in business and grow in the long term. For those of you who have never heard of Micron Technologies before, well, they manufacture memory chips, and there's two types of memory chips that they manufacture. One is DRAM and the other is NAND. And DRAM makes up about 75% of their revenues, while NAND makes up about 25% of their revenues. So Micron itself has two distinct competitive advantages or moats, and the first one is barrier to entry. So why does Micron have a barrier to entry moat? Well, first of all, its factories cost $5 billion or more to replicate. So the foundries, factories, fabrication centers, whatever you want to call them, they're very expensive to replicate. They cost $5 billion or more. And not only that, they take up to 3 years, or at least 3 years, to build and ramp to scale. As a result, this means that it takes their competitors trying to enter the space, it takes a lot of capital and it takes a lot of time. So it's very hard to compete with Micron. And because of that, the industry, the memory chip industry has been consolidated from many players down into only 3 players. So Micron operates within an oligopoly, of which they are the only player in the West. So the other 2 companies, they're located in South Korea. One being Samsung, the other being SK, and Micron is located in the United States. And because of this oligopoly, this gives Micron almost like a toll bridge moat. It's pretty much a tax on technology, and if any Western company does not want to use a company from the East, they have no choice but to use Micron's memory chips, essentially. And these memory chips are used in crucial infrastructure and technology that we all use today. For example, data centers. So think of big data center companies, big cloud companies like Amazon. Think of Microsoft, think of Google. They all use Micron's chips. Think AI. So AI needs a lot of memory chips and also IT infrastructure. There's also all these chips in electronics, such as phones and PCs. And there's been a big boom in the growth of DRAM used in phones recently because of the change from 4G to 5G, and we're only at the start of that. And 5G phones use something like 6 times the amount of DRAM that 4G phones use. There's also automation in factories. We're seeing a lot of companies opting to automate their factories in order to reduce labor force and decrease cost, which then increases the margin for their business. Micron's chips and memory chips in general are key in automation in factories. And then we also have the shift from regular vehicles to autonomous vehicles. And these autonomous vehicles are essentially computers on wheels. And they need a tremendous amount of memory in order to execute this. So there's a big driver, especially we see Tesla and even traditional car companies in general making a shift towards autonomous driving. And then just vehicles in general. So it's not just the autonomous vehicles that use DRAM, although admittedly they use a lot more. Just even stuff like your windshield wipers in your car. These operated by transistors, and they need DRAM. So With that being said, Micron's one of their big competitive advantages is their barrier to entry. So the second moat that Micron has is an intellectual property moat, or you might think of it as a secrets moat. They have intellectual property that their competitors simply can't get easily, and it would take years and billions of dollars of R&D investment to replicate. So Micron itself has over 40,000 patents, and what makes these patents even more difficult to replicate is that they stack on top of each other. For example, DDR1 memory through to DDR5 memory. And what also makes it special is certain suppliers of Micron cannot supply to Chinese companies. And the reason for this is there's been agreements, there's been laws in the United States that say, hey, you guys cannot supply your certain components to Chinese companies, and these certain suppliers have the best technology within the sort of memory chip components that Micron needs. So this makes it very hard for Chinese companies to then go and create their own semiconductor companies because they just don't have access to the same technology that Micron has. And then also it's Micron's relentless capital spend into R&D. And yeah, there's going to be some spend into expanding their factories and being able to increase their supply, which hopefully they will be disciplined about, but it's very hard to compete with a $150 billion investment into CapEx over this decade. That's just simply hard for other companies to compete. You have to be very big, you have to have scale, and pretty much because these barriers to entry are so high and they have so much intellectual property, it's going to take any smaller competitor years to catch up, and Micron is reinvesting back into their own business to pretty much keep this distance between them and their competitors. So guys, those are the two moats that I see for Micron. One is their huge barriers to entry, and the second is intellectual property. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to be covering Micron heaps more on my channel. It's a business that intrigues me, and I see huge opportunity here. So guys, make sure you like this video, hit that thumbs up button, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.